When I took over the company in 2005, father, he only died a month after. Learning from mistakes or admitting mistakes and kind of fixing it is something that the world is so bad at. I looked in the mirror and said, okay, you created this, what you do to fix it? And I didn't have a good toolbox of what to play at, and frustration and anger could it's not the best tool. In 2029, when Norrøna is 100 years old, what does it take to be the kind of world-leading premium brand?
Welcome to Sports and Outdoor Mentors. In this episode, I chat with Jørgen Jørgensen, the fourth generation CEO of Norrøna. Today, Norrøna employs more than 400 people, is sold globally, and in 2022 generated sales of approximately 75 million euros. We chat about the pressures of leading and owning a family business, of putting the consumer at the heart of everything they do, and his obsession with building the best outdoor product possible, plus much more. Before we jump in, I have one favor to ask. Please hit the subscribe button. This helps us to continue to grow the channel, elevate the content, and to bring you more insights from other amazing leaders within the sports and the outdoor industry. Thanks for your support and enjoy the episode. Jørgen, how does it feel leading a business that's 94 years old, I believe this year, that was founded by your great-grandfather, that must have so much personal history and heritage? I mean, how does that make you feel every day coming to work?
I mean, my work and my life is sort of woven together. And I think I realized when I was quite young that creating or building stuff is what makes me go to work in the morning. And owning a fourth generation family company, it gives you, I think I don't feel I have the right to sell it. So then it is to make it as strong as possible for the next generation. And all the decisions I take is in the mindset of that. So I think, a lot of the things that we have done and the decisions we have taken maybe in a short-term span, they seem not the best ones, but in the long-term span, it has shown out that they are very good. So that's what I think what I try every day to put on, not my personal hat, but Norrøna's hat. Of course, those are woven very closely together.
Leading a business that's been in your family for so long, do you feel added pressure linked to that, and how do you deal with that if you do?
I haven't really felt pressure on any time during my work here on kind of the responsibility of the business. What's the only thing that really stresses me is if there's bad quality or bad deliveries or kind of something that can hurt our consumers. But all decisions that we take that maybe have been, not the standard ones, is done in the best interest of the long-term view of the company. And since I was actually very young, and since I started working in Norrøna, I always seen the path. So I have no doubt of where we are going. So therefore, kind of, it is to go in that direction. Of course, there can be frustration of it takes too long time, or the long-term view has always been very clear for me, and therefore no stress.
Those factors that do stress you, it's clearly linked to the worry or fear of disappointing your consumer.
We are nothing without the trust of our consumers. And therefore that's, it's about delivering the best quality. It's about, if we screw up, delivering the best service to fix it. And as long as we can do that, our major consumer group, I think they can always forgive us if we, if we screw up on quality, the service aspect of fixing it, so the consumer gets a new product that has the right quality. I always find the consumer to be reasonable.
If they're dealt with well, then yeah, I agree, absolutely. But those moments of stress, because I'm sure, as in every business, there are times where mistakes made. How do you deal with those moments of stress? Is there something that you know, okay, I'm stressed, I need to do A, B, and C, or is it something that just kind of you just get on with?
When I took over the company in 2005, I started working here in 2000, but when I took over the company in 2005, my father, he only died a month after. So, and then I owned the whole company by myself. So there's no one really above me to kind of put pressure on. Then it's easy to kind of use the mistakes to learn from. You know, learning from mistakes or admitting mistakes and kind of fixing it is something that the world is so bad at. And I try as much as I can to, you know, build an organization where we admit that we do mistakes, because everyone do mistakes and we learn from it. Of course, that's challenging because no one else has no one above them. So it's easy if you just say, okay, I did a mistake. But for sure, the biggest learnings I've had is from mistakes. And the biggest mistake I done was when we, in 2007, we maybe launched the most innovative collection ever. We had put a lot of features that we hadn't tested enough on the sales samples. And when we put them into testing, we had to change it and find a better solution. At the same time, we had kind of moved from European production to Asian production too quickly. And the structure was not built to kind of meet the things that we had done. So the project management of the company was not good enough. And all the factories, you know, the products should have been done and they haven't even been started. I mean, that was the toughest time I had. And later on, I had hired a new supply chain director that could kind of fix it. And he called me and said, okay, I know said yes to work for you, but I got an even better job. So then I got that phone call in Asia. That was like 15 seconds I needed to think, shit, is it worth kind of the work that's going in here? And then you kind of just have to, okay, now it's going to be a tough time, but you have to deal with it. And learning from those mistakes, you know, I looked in the mirror and said, okay, you created this, what you do to fix it. And it's the biggest learnings. It learned me something about respecting the timelines and never compromising on that. Never take shortcuts on quality. So it's kind of, it was the toughest time, but I wouldn't be without it, because you would have learned this sooner or later, and it's better to learn it soon.
Yeah, I can only agree with your comment that I think in the business world today, that ability to accept that mistakes happen and learn from it is I would say all too rare. So how do you, as you said, for you somehow it's maybe the perception is that it's easier because you don't have a boss, but for other people in your business, of course, do. So how do you try to instill that that feeling, that approach in your leadership team, for example, in other leaders in the business?
Of course, it is when mistakes come. It's not to you know, go hard on people because of the mistakes, but it is to, okay, what can we learn from it? Well, you know, how do we deal with it, and be honest about that. I mean, when I do mistakes, I get pissed as hell. So and there's no one above me to kind of look down at me on that. So I understand the challenge, but I don't have the perfect recipe for this. I really want it, but still we have more to go here. And I think the hardest thing is this, okay, something did wrong. We did something wrong. We have to fix it, but we have to understand what we did, or else we can never fix it. So smoothing like, okay, we did a mistake, let's go further. I mean, then you don't fix it. So you have to dig down and figure it out. But this is never personal. It's about the case, and it's about, okay, how do we as a team fix it and improve it? And I mean, we are 20 different nationalities here. People and cultures are different. Yeah. And you know, to get everyone to believe, okay, it's okay to tell it, and we move forward, but learning from it, it's so important. And we try really hard, but we still have a way to go.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that'll always be the case somehow, I guess. So looking back, I mean, you studied at business school, business administration and finance, but you've already actually stated today that your passion is really designing and building things. So I guess my question is, how did you find yourself in studying business and finance? Because actually reflecting on it now as a learnings for a CEO of a business, it's somehow perfect, but it seems maybe not so aligned to your personal passion. So I guess, yeah, how did you find yourself in that situation? And were there things that you've been able to take away today and use in your role today leading the business?
I think my education is also important in running a business because, if you want to do a successful business, it has to be financially strong. This tradesman mentality, I have that one too. I mean, building a great business is about, buying at a good price and selling at a much higher price and being able to create this value, higher value on top of it. So I think it's a lot of good in the business education. What I recommend to my kids, I'm not sure if they're going to do it, is to take many different educations, like 1 year here, 1 year there, half year there. Because also, if you have the basic of the financial, you can learn yourself the rest. So I think if I were to do it again, I would have taken pattern making, graphical design, programming, marketing, added on a lot more things so I knew all the tools. And then it was much quicker to learn all the rest. I read so many business books, so that's easy to learn.
And you mentioned there you have kids, so you're the CEO of Norrøna Sport, the chairman of Norrøna Adventure, a husband, a father of 2 daughters. What's your secret to find a good balance? And do you have kind of, let's say, non-negotiable things that you don't give up on that are important for you and having a balance?
Since we make outdoor products, and since I'm the fit model of Norrøna, and I use every Monday kind of trying out the gear here, but I also use time to test out all the gear, all the prototypes and so on. So I probably spend 120 days out in nature, not full days, but after work or a year. And a lot of that is, of course with friends, but also a lot alone with my dog. And that kind of, you get exercise. Nature is a peaceful place to be. And I think if I didn't have that, it would be, I wouldn't find the balance. But of course you always have a bad conscience to family, or to work, to friends, to everyone. So that's you just have to deal with it. I think it is hard to balance these things, and you have to take care of the family, you have to take care of work, and you have to take care of yourself. And probably you never get away with I should have done more on this and more on that, and I could have been more home. I'm still try to give kids enough time and good values. I think the balance I have, it works for me at least to continue working hard, taking the responsibility and being able to, take on whatever comes here. Running a business like this, it is, you don't get, it takes a big part of you.
And so before you joined Norrøna, you were a buyer in a local premium outdoor store when you were actually buying, I guess, what you would today consider to be competitor products. So looking back at that time, were there any learnings from that period that really helped you in those early days when you did, let's say, officially join Norrøna?
Yes. First of all, I also worked at Skandinavisk Høyfjellsutstyr, where during studies and so on. I worked in retail besides my studies. Since I was 18, I worked a lot on that. And that, Skandinavisk was a really cool community because all the core outdoor people were hanging there. Also the consumers coming in were highly educated, and the store was very specialized. So I got kind of my retail interest came from this area. But when I worked as a buyer there, of course, I met all the competitors to Norrøna, so that was really good learnings. I didn't finish the job in Skandinavisk. There was a lot more to do. Since I had a good view of the competitors' market, I wanted to go into Norrøna and kind of get things going there.
And so those learnings, is there one learning that stands out that you were like, okay, this is the one thing that, as you said, that's going to really help you get those things going?
Yeah, there are a few, but on the retail side, there's one, because we build sort of a central warehouse, and Skandinavisk was a few stores, but way too few to have a central warehouse. So when we built the first Norrøna stores, we still have only one of each size in store, and we auto replenish every day. Taking it from having this big inventory to have no inventory, and auto replenishment is a very good learning. So a lot of the store development is kind of the opposite that we did in Skandinavisk. Okay. Yeah, so just understanding if you want to kind of have a lean retail or organization, the logistic is so important. I was the first one to buy in Arc'teryx to Norway. Arc'teryx was not a known brand in Norway, but when I think they did a very good job when they came with the first Gore-Tex garments. And Norrøna had a premium position in Norway at that time. And I put the first Gore-Tex jackets on wall. They were quite a bit more expensive than Norrøna ones. And I just saw they went out the door like that.
Yeah.
So I knew we had to put on a different gear in Norrøna.
That must have been almost somehow disappointing, shocking to see that the brand that you've been or your family's been involved with for so long, and then this, I don't know, upstart coming from Canada is able to sell product at a higher price. At that time, what was it that made that difference, do you think, for them?
No, I think they made really nice products. I mean, they were super innovative. In '99, when they came with sort of water-resistant zippers and kind of taking that technology and simplifying the Gore-Tex jackets. We also had access to those zippers, I know, in Norrøna, but we didn't do it. And then for me, that was, we were starting to be too conservative. And my father, he had stepped out of the company in '96 as a CEO, and he was the chairman, and that was because they feared some tax reasons that kind of if you were an owner and a leader that you got taxed really hard. But when he kind of quit as the leader, you kind of lost the driving force of the company. So it financially did really well further on, but it kind of created a vacuum. And I mean, he'd worked so hard, and I think it was really good that he did that. So he had 10 years of kind of enjoying life before he died. But in 2000, I realized that I had to go in and try to fill that vacuum.
You've mentioned there a couple of times that sadly, I think a month after you took over as CEO, your father passed away. And you've said before that you felt quite lonely at this time as the leader of a business. Looking back at that time, I mean, I can't imagine what it must have been like. How were you able to get through that period? What did you do to manage that time?
I was running the product development from 2000 to 2005, and after some time, I saw, if Norrøna is going to be kind of the world's greatest outdoor brand, which is my long-term goal, we have to change everything we do. And the old CEO and me, we kind of crashed on this because he didn't believe that Norrøna could kind of succeed internationally. We were way too small, and he didn't think that was possible. And at a certain point, that kind of crashed, and I told my father that I have to run the whole company now because I get so frustrated in this situation. And eventually, he took that talk with his friend and the CEO at that time, and that was announced in May 2004 that we're gonna change 1st of January. And my father got sick during the summer, and then it didn't really we didn't thought it was serious. And then a little later on, they said, oh, it's cancer. But still, this is a good chance we fix. And then in October, they said, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And then kind of his condition became quite a bit tougher. And at the end, he was hurting so much. So, yeah, you know, it was better to die than kind of lying there suffering. But of course, that was a super tough period. You know, I was preparing to take over. And I think also the old CEO and I were so different. So I asked for his job description, and there's nothing in that I did. So it was very different. But yeah, so it's a tough and emotional period. And Norrøna's chairman today, he came in December 2004, and he also been running a family business, and he's been through tough times, and he's kind of very clear. So he's been a very supportive and good help and a mentor for the whole way, actually.
So you see that relationship really as almost like you said, as a mentorship rather than, like, let's say, the traditional sense of a chairman being a boss. So that mentors then for you, you definitely see the value in having that sort of support.
I have so many roles here because I hire him to kind of kick my ass. And he's the right person for that. But in the start, I was only 31 when I took over the company. So I was quite young. And of course, you had some learning experience from being a leader. But I mean, it was definitively more wrong than right in my start of my leader career. Of course, because I was younger, and it was really hard to lead people that has been there for a long time, and kind of, yeah, they looked at you as, just a son of the owner, and maybe didn't have that respect, so it was hard to move things in the right direction. And I didn't have a good toolbox of what to play at, and frustration and anger could it's not the best tool in there. So I think he came in with being a very good mentor.
Looking back at that time, you're very open about the fact that, at that stage, probably you weren't the best manager, you weren't the best leader. Is there one period or one experience over the years that have helped you maybe develop more as a leader than anything else, anything that stands out?
The first period, I put the development of Norrøna into phases, and kind of when I took over in the first 5 years, there was so much stuff to do. So the kind of leadership was, you didn't focus so much on it. It was kind of getting the job done, and we kind of what missed at that time is kind of the focus on, what does good leadership mean? And I think we came all the way until 2013, and we kind of let's do a great place to work and get sort of a benchmark for how the people in the company look at leadership. And of course, that is, the ones that scores high there are really good and focusing on it. And the first time we did a great place to work, I hoped, and I think I expected a higher score. So that was kind of okay, yeah, this is something we need to focus on now.
I think taking a more scientific, data-driven approach makes a lot of sense. You're taking that kind of emotional aspect out of it.
What I try to learn in this company is that the average of the industry, I don't care. Yeah. We're going to be the best. Yeah. So we cannot talk about if we benchmark against the average, we're just fooling ourselves.
You've talked in the past about the fact that, of course, as a business, profit is important for you, but it's not, let's say, the only driving force in operating the business. And for you, and you mentioned actually already today in the conversation, that it's about building a sustainable and long-term business and brand for future generations, actually. Can you share any practical examples of decisions that you're taking that, let's say, support and reinforce that message?
I think we we take those decisions quite often. On quality, for example, that's I think the best thing after this learning in 2007. I have good statistics for the Norrøna quality way back to the 90s. And it's kind of been stable. And during this 2007 screw up, it's changed. In the percentage, it did not drastically change, but it was definitively uncomfortable. But still, just a side note, I don't know if you saw the guy in the pink one piece yesterday.
Yes, I did.
That was one of the products that we actually pulled back from the market in 2007 because of bad quality.
Interesting.
But it's still being used today. Going to your customers and consumers and saying, you have to ship it back. This was not to our standards. It's so painful in the stomach, and I don't want to put either my employees or the brand in that position again. So we have had, taking big cuts on sales to say, no, we don't. We have the orders, everything wants to buy it, but we are uncertain if this will stand our standards. That is typical decisions where kind of profit, short-term profit is waived. I think also a lot of, when I think about risk, it seems like often others think differently. I think if we only have Norway as a market, that's too much risk, so we have to go on export. And then at least the home market, they said, oh, why do you want to take this risk on going and export? And I was like, the risk is staying here. And that is, of course, you sacrifice short-term profit, and because you have to invest. I think there's many decisions like this. We can talk about travel, where people also say, do you want to kind of spread your focus? I'm saying, well, I'm not going to spread the focus. It's under the same umbrella, and it's not the same people that's going to do both of it. I think that is also about taking short-term profit and putting it into the long-term decisions.
That strong focus on quality, it's much more of a focus on quality versus quantity. And you said that your aspiration is to be the best or the greatest outdoor brand globally. So what does that look like for you? How do you know, for example, let's say when you've achieved that, what will it be like, okay, we're there?
I think if you ask the core users in those markets that we kind of work in, that they say they have, Norrøna is their preferred choice. Okay. It's for sure not the biggest, but we need sort of I would say still a decent footprint in the markets that we work in. Yeah. And it's the consumers that decides. If kind of many, and I think the really enthusiast and core consumers, if they say, Norrøna is my first choice, that's a good example on it.
And do you see anything happening in the market overall that gives you cause for either concern or optimism in your kind of efforts to reach that goal?
This is for sure a marathon. In our home market, I think 80-90% of the population know our brand, and the preference is very high. So even if we are, it's I think rare to be in that position that you are maybe the dominating brand, but also the premium. And it's a very kind of edge to kind of follow, because all the core guys, they want something that is not for everyone. And in the home market, we've been able to do both of it. And so that is kind of a fine balance. But now we're going out and trying at least to use the same recipe going into our export markets. And it is about getting consumers to try the products, and it takes some time before they realize, you have to be in a kind of have to use them for some year, or be in a situation where kind of you see the difference. So I can do an example from Sweden. It's quite fun, which I use sometimes, because for Norwegians to succeed with a brand in Sweden is not that easy. And we had an example from a Swedish photographer. He won the Gore-Tex Trollveggen jacket in a competition in a magazine in Sweden. And he was very happy with one of our competitors. That was his favorite brand. So he took the Norrøna jacket and he put it all the way into his closet. And it was hanging there for a year. And he was going out to 14 days camping in the wilderness. And he said, I think I'll bring a backup jacket. Oh yeah, I have this Norrøna jacket here. So he said on day one, it started raining so hard and he was totally soaked. I have this extra jacket. So he put that on and it kept him dry for the whole trip. So it was at least dry on top. And he wrote a long letter to us and said now he was a big Norrøna fan. And so, you have to give them the first product for free and wait for 1 year and have to put them into a tough situation. And then they understand the difference. So I think that is actually a picture. But we are slowly getting more and more products out on people. And then if they have a problem, we will help you. We will, we will fix any problem for the consumer. It's easier in your home market than across. So we develop our systems and tune them. We have Net Promoter Score coming in like 2,000 per month, and using all that feedback to optimize. I feel we have a good direction with our collection and how we work with things. So it's very systematic and methodically put in place. So I think we will have a good growth going forward. We also work with the right retail stores. The distribution is really good. So we are very scalable. And I think we are at a good place, and we're starting to get the awareness out there. But it's at the moment the market is tough. So you don't we still grow, but what have happened in the normal market. So I'm a strong believer that. We are on a good way to where we want to be, but I think myself, I've done a not good enough job in growing the brand lately.
I'm sure without a doubt your family has clearly influenced you professionally, and I'm sure also your mentor that you talked about earlier on, your chairman. But is there anybody else any other leaders either in the industry or even outside of the industry that are somehow an influence for you?
Yeah, for sure, Steve Jobs. He commercialized extreme user-driven product development. My father and Thomas Carlström started it in 1972. And I think he just kind of went away from this, finding the average with focus groups and taking it to the extreme. So even if we had it going, I read all the books and everything about him. So I think he was a really special person. I think if he also did a lot of mistakes in start and 10 years off and learned so much and came back and really did the magic with Apple. One person can influence that much, I think is really impressive. And why I kind of like Steve Jobs is also because he's creating real products. Another one is Elon Musk. Of course, there is a lot of things, and I just read the latest book, and he's such a fascinating person, but he's so far away from kind of what you talk about with leadership today. It's kind of on the other side of the room. I think it's a little interesting into the debate, and I don't think that he's a role model for what I want to do, but I admire what he has created and the way he does it, and it's so not textbook. Probably the textbook management can also look a little in that direction if you want to have things done. Yeah.
I think as anything, it's finding the right balance, but that almost, I see both of them almost as mavericks somehow, that they, as you said, really pushed the absolute limits, had their weaknesses for sure. But so yeah, as always, there's probably a balance in there somewhere.
Yvon Chouinard has kind of taken the environmental stand. I have a lot of respect for that. I think Johan Chenard has been kind of more outdoors, but it's more like his philosophy put into Patagonia. I think he's he's a solid guy.
What would you define as your most important task as a business leader here at Norrøna?
First of all, is vision and direction, kind of giving the direction. But there's also one thing which we talk a lot about, and I have had all the leader jobs in the company, and I know almost all details of Norrøna, and I know that is not normal, and I'm interested in everything we do. So if building an ERP system, a marketing campaign, logistics, production, product development, retail, I think it's all fun. To kind of what you can do if you know your company that well, you can build a holistic thing. So very often you take decisions there that's based on some advantages there, but they are not the best for the whole company. So the ability to kind of secure that all the decisions we take have a holistic view and in the best interest of Norrøna, that's kind of where I sit and kind of control this.
Yeah. So that maybe links to my next question nicely. So what annoys you as a leader? What is there one thing that it just drives you crazy?
One thing that we work a lot with my leader team is, how, of course, since I know and are so involved in everything, it's still, I want them to step up and myself to kind of be maybe sometimes more like a traditional leader, and finding this balance of if I step back, what do I say and do to get my leaders to kind of fill that hole. And I think last few years I had a lot of learnings about how to do that better. Not kind of wanting to, this is a place where we have to work hard to succeed. So if you don't want to be part of that kind of annoys me. And I think I don't have a lot of annoyance here. I think the people here, they're really, really great, and they work really hard, and they are very competent. So I'm very proud of the people here. So I think that I don't have that annoyance, except that, I want to actually increase Norrøna in the international scene even more. I'm a bit impatient on that. All the things we would like to do, both on sustainability and building more stores, and even more on the marketing and adventure. It's all financed by what we create in Norrøna. So the bigger I get, the more kind of profitable, the more I invest in the company. So it's kind of an ecosystem that is all aligned, and I don't want external investors. So all that we use, we have to create. So it's sort of it's a big flywheel.
Yeah.
And I'm eager to get going even more.
A key part of being able to do that, and you've talked about this in the past, where when you're looking to bring new people into the business, that you need to find that what's really important for you rather is that they fit firstly with the brand, but also with the people around, you and obviously your other team. So when you're looking for people, how do you identify that? What's your approach in trying to find those people?
The first part I can say here is that I think every year we work on the learnings from recruitment. And first of all, we come to a level that we don't pick the best position that applies if they don't get to the right level. So we have a lot of recruitments where we say, no, we have to continue. And this we have aligned with the leaders in the company, that we rather have like a short-staffed period than don't finding the right person. And more and more, we realized some parameters that has to be in there. And I think we have actually managed to create a really good culture. And maybe the one thing that doesn't work here is if you're sort of a superstar and kind of above everyone else, it's a very good team spirit. And the other one is kind of trying to figure out if the people are willing to learn from their mistakes and admit them. Yeah. That's super important. If you ask some questions and if you are wrong there, then you're not going further.
Yeah, but that's tough to do. As somebody who interviews a lot of people, I would say that's tough to do in the process.
I have a couple of questions. I think they are, when you get them, you should see them coming. But I think, people reveal themselves quite well.
Okay, interesting. We'll have to talk offline. So thinking about the broader outdoor industry, when you look ahead to the next, let's say 3-5 years, maybe beyond, what do you see as the biggest challenges maybe that as an industry we need to address?
There's no doubt it's the sustainability part. It's going to be 5 incredibly tough years. And what's happening is, of course, the legislation are coming in much, much harder. And it is needed, but it's not harmonized. So there's different legislation in different markets. And the tools are not there. There's no standards. So there's a lot of uncertainty. But I mean, it's totally necessary for the world. But these legislations should probably come in all industries. And I think actually outdoor is quite far ahead. And of course, there are complex value chains. But for sure, being able to kind of be on top of what's required the next 5 years, I think it's going to be super challenging.
Since taking over in 2005, Norrøna has been through, I would say, looking from the outside in, a lot of different transformations. And I wanted to touch on a few of those topics and get some insights from you. So the first being that kind of around omni-channel transformation. And I would imagine when you took over in 2005, most of the 99%, maybe more higher, was the business was wholesale. Since then, you now have a footprint of physical stores, obviously your own online stores. And I think the other thing is that you've not just gone through that transformation, you've also gone through the transformation that in your businesses, it's not just purely about selling products. In your physical stores, from the start, you've offered more. And now today with Norrøna House downstairs, you've gone even further still. So what have been the key learnings over those, 15, 18 years on that kind of transformation journey?
I mean, like I said earlier, I always loved retail. And I remember I lived in San Francisco in 96 for a few months. And the North Face had a very cool store kind of in the center of San Francisco. It gave me a lot of motivation. I think also Armani had a very cool store in an old bank where they have like a kind of bar around it all. So the retail thing I got from being in the US and really seeing everything there gave me a lot of ideas. And when I started with Norrøna, I always wanted to develop a retail part. I think Peak Performance were so smart when they started with both wholesale, mail order, and their own stores, and Patagonia the same. And I kind of, why didn't we do it? There was so much change to be done in the start when I was a CEO, and then we had the 2007 where kind of the quality thing, and had to set up the company, really structure it up. So the first possible time was actually in 2009. I mean, that was, for me, it's one of the biggest milestones to finally get a store where I can present the products like I truly believe they should be. And we had so many discussions with the wholesalers that, Jørgen, you guys let us do the retail stuff and you just sell us the product. I mean, I've been working in retail for many years. I know what I'm saying is right, but no one would believe us. So when we started Norrøna Retail, I wanted to make the best kind of outdoor chain in Norway, to be able to teach our wholesalers to do a better job. And I think we have examples of that now, that they call me and ask for certain stuff. So the overall idea is that if you want the most profitable outdoor store, you fill it with Norrøna, 100%. And then the less you have, the less profitable.
Nice, nice.
And but I mean, inside there is, for example, we never discount in our store, and that was impossible to do if you asked wholesale. We had a lot of space on a few products. Only have one in each size, and replenishment, that was impossible to do. So there were so many things that was impossible to do that we showed was possible. That's just the operational part of it. The cool thing with working with retail, and especially with our customers and consumers are generally quite high, very happy with the brand and very loyal, and a lot of passion. So it's very motivating to talk to consumers, Norrøna consumers.
Yeah.
Wholesalers, they don't give you they don't call you if everything is perfect, and they shouldn't do. They can do their selling, but if something is wrong, they call you. So it gives the brand kind of a little bad self-confidence. So what we saw when we started getting our own stores is that we as a brand got more confident, because you got positive feedback from the end consumer. Not kind of, oh, you should do this, and all the things you should do that you're not doing, but they gave you credit for all the good things that you are doing. Yes. So I think that is a very important part in building confidence in the organization. Even to, if you show a product to wholesale and say it can't be sold, well, you can prove them differently, or you can put it in store and get that proof that it can't be sold. So, having that direct access is, I think that's so important.
Is the digital aspect of your own channels, does it enable you to maybe gain that insight even quicker, or are there any other things particularly that you learned from that, launching your own digital channels?
I was more visionary on the kind of retail sides than on the e-commerce. So we were quite early. We started direct to consumer in 2003. So, and this is that was kind of, why shouldn't we sell if we have the product in stock, and then the customer wants it, and the wholesale is not willing to buy it? Why shouldn't I let the consumer buy that from our website? So we had that discussion. I said, I have to take care of the consumer and give them the product. So we need that web store. And of course, that was all full price. And I said, if the retail or the wholesalers, if they have the product and the customers are in store, they will sell that product. They will not then go home and buy it from us here. So it's not a competition, but it is very important to take care of the customer. So that was our thinking when we started our e-commerce. Because the early e-commerce on outdoor was so much discount oriented. So I kind of, how big is this full price thing going to be? So it took a little time before I kind of started understanding the digital and the aspects of it. But eventually we sourced all that competence in-house, and I even spend a lot of time with the e-commerce team and building websites. And for our vision again is, we should not decide which channels the consumers want to buy. We offer all the channels, and that's why it's not like this should be that many percent or whatever. We believe in our wholesale distribution, we believe in our retail distribution, and we believe in our e-commerce distribution. It's all harmonized, it's the same price. We try to kind of give the same service in all channels, and then the consumer should be able to decide where they want to buy it and have that as seamless as possible. We still have a way to go, but in a few years, I think we will, on our website, we will be able to show the inventory on most of our wholesalers also. So if they kind of, okay, I want to buy it there, yeah, that's there. Maybe you can even get it shipped from any wholesalers that have it over our website, but the money goes to that wholesaler. What we are interested in is if a consumer wants the product in a certain way and it's available, that we should get it to the consumer as efficient as possible.
There's been a lot of buzz talk, hype around kind of consumer centricity for the last 5-10 years, but I feel like a lot of times it's just talk, but it feels like it's really fundamental at the heart of what you're doing, whether it's the products, the channels that you're selling that product from. You recently started a new venture with Norrøna Adventure. So what role do you see that playing, and how do you see that, let's say, adding value to the overall Norrøna experience?
It came out of a strategy meeting we had actually at Canvas Telemark in 2016. The theme of that strategy meeting, and I think it was maybe the best strategy meeting we ever had. In 2029, when Norrøna is 100 years old, what does it take to be the kind of world-leading premium brand? And we had linked that to our kind of focus areas, and had a lot of, up front we put in a lot of kind of short quotes of what we believe that was. And one of the discussion came around, if you really want to be a premium brand at that point of time, is it enough to only supply products? Our vision is welcome to nature. That's what's limited what we do. And adventure is for sure under that vision. So one of the conclusions we came out with there is like, yes, we believe that if we want to be a premium brand when we are 100 years old, we also have to offer the adventures for our users. Another important part of that strategy meeting was about an organization that can kind of do stuff that's not inside our own operation. So we founded the Norrøna Q, which is the business development of Norrøna. Okay. That can, if we want to do stuff, there's resources there to go out and do it without hurting our operational excellence. And the journey kind of from that decision until we are today, it's kind of gone a little up and down, but eventually buying into Hvitserk, which was a Norwegian part of Hvitserk, and actually a 40-year-old adventure company. Okay. And we know them for many years, and they kind of part of the founders were close with us in the past. And I kind of always been thinking about this might be a good match. So we bought they offered us to buy a share because they needed some funding, and eventually we bought more than 50% and rebranded it right before the COVID. And then we bought the international part of it, and we also bought the Canvas Telemark as a fully controlled destination. And we will build more lodges that we control everything up north. I can talk more about that later. But we are now creating the fundament, and it's nice to have a fundament where there's already some business. So I think that's a easy way into it, and Hvitserk has long experience. It's a great team. They have a lot of good guides, and they have a really good adventure program set up. And now we're kind of working on integrating that into Norrøna. So we will have one customer service, and that's customer services within a year or a little more, be 24/7. So if you call us, you will talk to one person and they will give you all the answers. They might come back to you because they don't figure it out. There's a second line in there, but that team can kind of provide you with clothing, with adventures, and a lot of other stuff. And you know, we started implementing this in April, so you know, it's step by step we're getting there, and I see a lot of signs that this is really beneficial. And I think our customer service team is, we got a new leader there 1 year ago, and he's done a fantastic job to make that team even stronger.
It feels like I get it goes back to the same thing about putting the customer at the heart of what you're doing, and you're just enabling the brand to be in contact with the customer for even longer, essentially, and on broader topics. So yeah, makes a lot of sense.
And I think my motivation for really doing the travel, especially when we control everything. I mean, I'm a very critical consumer myself when I kind of go on travel, and but I still know how I would have done it. When I organize things ourselves, I know how to create a pretty good experience, and it doesn't exist at least in Norway today. What we're planning to do, Canvas Hotel has it, and I really want to share this experience with our users. I think we can provide them with experiences which is sort of kind of memories for life. Where you know, and it's an easy logistic. It's kind of the place you stay, the community you create around the place. Of course, it's the adventures, it's the food, it's the service, it's the gear, everything in there. I think it's very cool to be able to share that with our consumers.
Absolutely. On the subject of sustainability, you talked about this in the past, that you don't see this as, let's say, a race against the competition. It's really about how, as an industry, you know, we can move forward together and really improve the situation. So collaboration, I think, is going to be a key factor in facilitating that. So what would you like to see from maybe industry associations or from the industry as a whole to facilitate this type of collaboration and cooperation? Because I think from what I see, there's a lot of people doing a lot of work, but I feel like if there was more work together, more collaborative work, we could be going further faster. So is there something that you would like to see going forward?
When you look at legislation and traceability and all the data that we would need to kind of prove where we are, maybe the industry is not high enough even, because, you know, an example is in the US, they are very aware of cotton now, that it should not come from certain regions in China. So at the border, you get stopped and you have to prove that the cotton is not from there. And when we talked to our supplier, they said, we will not reveal our source, but we have all the certifications. And then eventually we get the source, and I see the certification, like this paper, and I mean, what does that prove? It's like a paper and you have the products there. If we kind of gonna solve this environmental issue, almost UN has to be the you know, they have to build standards so we talk about the same thing. You know, you cannot have one country do this and another country do this. The world, you know, there's nothing solely made in one country. You know, to kind of prove where everything is from, all the social rights and all the chemicals, and have 100 different standards, you know, it's not going to work. There have to be single source of truth that everyone is using. And I think the SAC and the HIG, it's a very good start. And I see a lot of NGOs kind of working against it. And I'm like, shit, what's the alternative? You know, they think that this is something you do to kind of get around the sustainability. But I think, you know, we want to solve it. You know, we live on the same planet. But if we get this fully integrated network on a sort of interstate company.
Yeah.
That's the only way to solve it. I think or else we're going to struggle. And HIG is the closest we have. I think there is a lot of good industry corporations, but it would have been even better if we lifted it to a UN level. If they could this is the standards, this is the sort of LCAs on cotton or whatever. And there's so much work that needs to be done to update and get this going. My biggest fear is that we if it's our industry or if it's the textile industry or if it's EU, we have to be even on a higher level. And I don't see any of those initiatives right now. And in the meantime, the apparel industry is trying to build at least something that we can work on.
I wonder then if we need associations like the European Outdoor Group and the OIA in the US to almost come together to have one. Okay, it's still not global, but at least it's better, because otherwise the lobbying is done, I guess, at not the right level to really address this today.
I mean, we are sort of setting up our digital plan of it, and if there's one database, it's so much simpler than what we do today when we have to ask each supplier for all the data and they have to ship out all the data to each of their customers instead of a sort of central database to just plug into. That will at least keep quite a bit cost down for the whole world. And all that money could be put into fixing the problem instead of talking about it.
So let's move on to slightly lighter topics. So what's your favorite piece of sports or outdoor gear? And you're not allowed to say Norrøna, something else, which I know covers a lot, but I'm sure in your garage you have a non-Norrøna product somewhere.
Yeah, okay. Of course, ski boots and bindings and so on. Of course, I probably have sunglasses from Oakley. Those I use a lot, so they can for sure be there. I mean, my skis was one of my favorite things, but they also have a Norrøna logo. And I think when I find the good ski touring boots, I'm very happy, and I try to buy more pairs. So I love windsurfing, so I use starboard gear there. And of course, my bike, my Specialized mountain bike. Okay. I always like Specialized. I think they have beautiful bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what book would you recommend somebody to read if they wanted to, or if they are or wanted to be a leader within the sports and outdoor industry? Is there something that stands out?
From Good to Great, I think a lot of people have read, and I think that is a really, really good book. But I also think a lot of the books about Steve Jobs, I think especially if you want to be in the premium side and, like both functionality and quality and design, and also user-centric. As I said, I was actually very impressed by the book of from Walter Isaacson about Elon Musk. Yes. I think that it's very interesting. Yeah. It's just he's a special guy, but and maybe crazy, but all the things he achieved, I think it's just out of this world.
Literally, in some cases. Yeah.
I haven't really found that many new books lately, and maybe I'm not searching the right places. But I have a podcast that I think is really, really great. Okay. And it's called Acquired.
Okay.
Yeah. It's two American guys from the West Coast. They originally come from the tech industry. But what they do, which I think is so fascinating, they talk about, the whole history of the brands. And there's an episode on Louis Vuitton, on the Hennessy there, which is fantastic. I think it's like 3 hours. Okay. They talk about Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway for 10 hours, 3 episodes. Wow. And then you get it's something, you get the long view. And I think that's important when you do stuff. You don't see it when you see into the future, but you have to turn around and look backwards and connecting the dots, like Steve Jobs says. You know, that podcast is really good at doing that. And you see many companies, you know, that are great today. They've also been in situations where they're like, are they going to survive or not? You know, to be able to kind of use the Zoom and zoom out and in, I think this podcast is doing it really well. And they're very good at highlighting they use this book 7 Powers to kind of evaluate each company, which is also really good. And if you have the awareness, you know, from the company you are running, what powers are you going to use? Where are you going to kind of, what's going to be your recipe? I think that's, I don't know if any book has that, but for me, that's always, you know, what's the recipe? Why are you going to be in business? And is it Jeff Bezos that says there's 2 kind of companies. Either you try to sell as cheap as possible or as expensive as possible. I think that's a pretty interesting thing. You have to figure out where you want to be.
So what's the most valuable piece of advice you've ever received?
It's a difficult one. I try to be open and listen, and I try to take in a lot of feedback. I think when I hear stuff, it kind of goes into a process, and eventually my subconscious come out with some answers. I'm not always certain where they're coming from, but I think a lot of the decisions and things we do, it comes from you know, that you hear the same thing many times, or that you listen and get some time to think about it. But there's some key things I think on the board level that's really cool, if I'm going to be concrete, because, you know, I don't think things often can be quite simple and still very valuable. And one of our old board members, he once said, what if we talked about how big the collection, or, you know, the complexity of all that, what if we are a company that just makes 100 best products? That's it. You know, it's 1 in, 1 out, 100 best products. And that kind of talk ended us by, we didn't set a limit of 100, but we put in size of the collection goal. So we have this 1 in, 1 out. And that talk back in 2008, when we did it, we reduced our SKU count with 30% over 1 year, and kind of got to control it. And I think that was a very good advice, to be able to not expand your collection too much.
So if today was your last day here as CEO of Norrøna, what would be your message to your team?
Continue in the same direction.
Perfect. Perfect. Great. So if you could give future leaders of the sports and outdoor industry 3 pieces of advice, what would you give?
I mean, they are so colored by where I come from, but and they are maybe like the first page of any business book, but you know, through users first. I think a lot of people use it and say it, but I am not sure that the user sees that. And I mean, we still have work to do there. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to build a brand, and brand is not a one-time product. It's you want the consumer to come back and buy more, and continue to be loyal. That's if you have a logo on it, that's kind of the whole point of it. And you have to figure out who are your customers, and be loyal to them, and do that over time. And I think they are actually going to be loyal back.
Yeah.
I think also the other one will figure out where you want to be. You know, do you want to be selling as expensive as possible or as cheap as possible? And this is more how I like to do stuff, but we have sourced in through the years, you know, sourcing out. I don't understand the point. We don't really work with consultants. We do so, and through the years we just taken in more and more and more and more. And I think then you can create something really cool if you. I'm not against consultants by itself, but if they are going to come in and understand your brand and understand what you need and then disappear out again and then come in when you need them again, I think that's a really hard way of working. But of course I'm colored by kind of the premiumness and the level that we want to be at.
Yeah. Great. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Jørgen, for your time and your insights. It's been super interesting, and I wish we had more time, but maybe another time. It's been a really great story. I've loved being here. Thank you for your hospitality last night as well at the opening party. It was great, and congratulations with everything you've achieved. It's very inspiring from my point of view for someone who's been in the industry for 30 years. So yeah, thank you again.
And thank you for being on the show, and thank you for coming here. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. We love to read your feedback, so please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks again for your support. See you soon, and don't forget to subscribe.